Good morning, developers. If you are new to the channel, my name is Rob, and this set of videos or playlist is part of a larger course. I'll drop the link in the description if you would like to go a little bit deeper than we do here. In this video, I'm going to start us down the road of connecting to the OpenAI developer platform. And specifically, we are interested here in connecting with WebRTC and connecting with WebSockets. The timing here is a little auspicious because a few days ago, as of the release of this video, DeepThink came out and it showed that things could be done pretty much just as good for a fraction of the price. And case in point here, everything I'm about to show you, the AI war is on and things can change very quickly. So I still think that this platform is the best, at least it's the best one I have worked with. It remains to be seen how long that will last. I want to say up front here, it is not free. I have hopped over to the usage, and we'll look at the docs here in just a minute, but it requires a minimum of $5 in order to get started. You buy credits, the credits are used just like money, and then you can set it up any number of ways to refresh or whatever. This is quite a bit of usage and testing over maybe 3 or 4 different periods. It was $1.43. It's totally up to you if you want to make the investment. Obviously, you'll be able to see it done yourself. If you don't, you can just watch me again. We'll come back to this in a minute. But this is an amazing ability we have here. We can take our, back down here at the bottom, we can go to our WebRTC. We can connect the client-side application directly to their real-time API. And they've got a little diagram here to get a key from the server. So we have to build 2 sides. We're going to use Vite in order to build the front end, and we will use Express to build the back end, a Node.js server. We get a key, and then the browser establishes the WebRTC connection directly to the OpenAI API. It is going to be a peer, so we're going to have a RTC peer connection, and we are going to be sending the video and the audio directly to the OpenAI API. For WebSockets, it pretty much works the same way. But they recommend using standard WebRTC if you're going to use a browser or mobile. So this is more server to server. So you cut out that other part. But again, we'll come to this in due time. In order to get to this page, and I should have said this a little bit earlier, if you just go to platform.openapi.com, it will, at least right now, take you to the docs/overview page. You can read a little bit about what's in here. This is they've got a couple different languages. I guess it's Node and Python, and then it shows you how you can make the request directly with Perl. But the models that you have to choose from, you can click here to go to pricing, go down a little bit further. What we are interested in is the real-time API. I will click on Quick Start over here, and this will give the code, and you can pick what language you want. But what we need, where we are going to start, is by getting an API key. And so you have, this does cost money, and you have to have an account in order to make any progress here. So I'm going to come back over here. I've got the usage one pulled up. This is just under my account, and then under settings, I fought making an account for a really long time because I don't like giving any data away to big tech, but in order to use it, we have no choice. Over here under API keys, you can create a key here, and I'm not going to show any of this information because it's just not relevant, but you can create a new secret key up here. Most likely, if you're following this demo, it will be owned by you. I named mine just my test key, and then you can assign it a project. So just, hopping through this is pretty straightforward, but the API keys, that's where they are. Here under settings, it'll drop you here under general where you can make an organization name, and then you create your API key here. So that is the entry point to pretty much everything. We need an API key. That is the easiest way to get it. There's also a link right here that I did not notice. So if I click on that, it takes us to exactly the same place. Please look through any and all of this if you want more detail. There's so much material, so many rabbit trails we could go down. I want to try and stay on task here. If we come back down to connect with WebRTC, which is where we are going to start, scroll down a little bit farther here, what we actually need, and it gives us a little bit of information. It says in scenarios where you would like to connect a real-time model from an insecure client over the network, namely a web browser, they recommend using the WebRTC connection method. And I briefly mentioned that already, but this is better equipped to handle variable connection states and provides a number of convenient APIs. So WebRTC is made for this kind of thing. You can pass data over the stream. This is just the best way to do it. The starting point here is the browser needs an ephemeral key. And ephemeral is a fancy English word that means a short-term key, or it's not permanent. We have to get that from the server. So we're gonna create an express server that's gonna get the key, pull that key back into our browser, and then the browser can authenticate and use it, and the server can determine how long and all of that stuff. It's generated by the OpenAI REST API. You can click on that, but if you go a little bit down a little farther, the process is going to go like this. The browser will make a request to our server to get that key. That server is going to use the standard API key, so the thing that we made over here in our settings. So we use our standard key to request the key from the REST API. So we've got a couple moving parts. The front end, and hopefully you're familiar with this, but the front end is going to go to our back end and say, hey, I need a key. The back end is going to go to right here. The server is going to say, hey, I need a temporary key. Here's my standard API key. This is a regular REST API that just uses HTTP. OpenAI will send that ephemeral token back. We'll send that back up to the browser, and then the browser will use that ephemeral token to talk to OpenAI via our app. So that's what this part here is saying. I went ahead and did number 3 too. The browser will use that to authenticate. And down below, this init section goes through how to set up the whole WebRTC connection. It's not that simple, or at least it's not quite that simple to get it to do what you want it to do. There's a lot more that goes into it. We need this part first, where we're going to create an ephemeral token. They have their Express server here. Once we've got that key, we'll come back up to the top here. So that's the first thing that we are going to do. So however you make apps, I'm inside of this projects folder. I'm going to run npm create vite at latest, and I'm going to call this OpenAI-front end, and I'm going to hit that. We are going to use vanilla JavaScript. If you want to use one of these other platforms, you are on your own for now at least. I'm going to use regular JavaScript. It gives us the remaining commands, which I am going to run. And my project is up and running. I'm going to do npm run dev. I've got something else running at 5173, but that's probably where your app is at. And I'm going to open this up. Okay, this is the very, very basic Vite homepage. You may have done React, whatever you did, it is fine, but this will enable us to use modules. And this is probably how you're going to make your apps going forward in general anyway. So there are previous videos on what Vite is and how it works, but that should do the trick of getting you up and running. Please open that code base. And here I am. We've got the folder structure open on the side. We're gonna have a front end and a back end. So you can look up here, OpenAI-front end. That's, if you see that up there, that means I'm on my front end. SRC and main is where we are going to be doing our work. I'm going to clear all of this out because I don't care about any of that. And I'm just going to put in here, let's do const run. And this will be an async function. This is going to be kind of our starting point. And I will call run. Let's just make sure that everything works the way that we expect it to. Running like so. Over to the browser. We get an error that we can clear out here on counter. We're not using that anymore, so I am going to comment out. Actually, let's just delete these 3 lines. We don't need those anymore, and let's get rid of line 9 because we are not going to use that. And there we go. We get running, and we are ready to go. Let's set up our backend. So I've got a new tab, and inside of projects here, I'm going to make a new directory called OpenAI-backend. We will hop into that thing, and we're going to do npm init-y. And inside here, we're going to install a couple things. We'll do npm install express and npm install cores, because our front end and our back end are running on different, going to be on different domains. We will separate those 2 out, okay? Please open this code base as well, and we are going to start off with server.js. This is where our code is going to go to create the ephemeral key. That's this thing's only job at the moment. It will come into bigger play later on. But we need const express equals require express, and we need const cores equals require cores. That includes the two modules we just installed. We're going to create an Express app by doing Express open close and set that equal to app. And then we are going to do const cores options. This will be an object, and I need to spell it right, like so. We need a property of origin. This will be an array, and these are the domains that you are willing to accept traffic from on our Express server. So http:// in my case, it's localhost : I'm going to do 5173, and I'm also going to do 5174 because sometimes I have more than one Vite app running. In addition to origin, we need methods, and our methods are going to be get, comma, post, and that is a string, so that's how it should look there. Get, comma, post inside the same string. We will set credentials equals to true. And that should do the trick for us. We'll now do app.use, so we're going to build some middleware cores just like that, and we are going to hand cores options to cores. So we're running cores open close like that, giving it the options that we just built here, origin and methods. This part you need to manage yourself. This is for development. If you're going to go farther, you just need to be aware of what your cores options and your security options need to be. We are going to make our first route will be app.post, and we are going to do /session. We will bring in rec and res, and then down at the very bottom here, let's do app.listen. Pick whatever port you want to. I'm going to listen on port 8003 because I've got a couple other Express apps running. Pick any port you want. If you're going to follow me, 8003 is a good option. What goes inside here, back over to the documentation, and underneath, right, creating an ephemeral token. They've got pretty much the same stuff we do here. Ours is just more robust. They've got an app.getSession. That's why I chose that particular endpoint. They use the fetch API to go here. They pass these options. The method that they're using is post. The headers, it needs to come with authorization, and then this is where your OpenAI key is going to come into play. We'll drop that in just a second. Content type is established as application/JSON. Depending on Express, that's probably already the default, but it's still good to include. And then the body, stringify this object, the model that you want to use, and the voice that you want to choose for your model. We will update some of this a little bit later on because this is where you're going to tell the OpenAI what the browser is going to be able to use. So we're going to put some of that material in here, and then JSONify, grab the data they get back, which will come in JSON format, and send it back over to the front end. So for now, I'm going to copy everything we've got here right to there, and I'm going to paste it in. You can copy it off my screen, or you can get it from the documentation there. But we need to drop async on our callback, and here's where we're at. I'm going to use the fetch API to go out to this URL, which they are giving us in the docs. Use post. This part here, we need to update this. I'm going to create a new file called config.js. This will be module.exports. We'll send out an object, and I'll put API. Let's do all caps, API underscore key. And I'm going to drop my API key in here. I am not going to show you my API key, but it is in fact in config. Up at the top, let's grab our config. So we'll do const config equals require tick.slash, go to config. And what we can do instead of this thing, it's going to be config dot API key. You can see is already there because Visual Studio Code is able to pull that out. So that's what this looks like. This is the same. The model that you want to use, if you're watching this significantly later, it might be different. They just came out with this real-time preview because this is in beta. I don't think I showed that. Over here, if you click on API reference, here we're in the docs. If you click on API reference, it'll bring you to this page. And down at the bottom, under real-time, you can see it's still in beta. So we are ahead of the game, at least when I'm making this video. I'm going to go back over here. I've got it pulled up right there. Under real time, this is where they go over all of the stuff. It's in beta. And so what we're seeing here is a preview. I don't know that this is the full retail version yet, but the rest of this is just fine. Instead of res.send, I'm going to do res.json. We want to send that back in an easy way to consume on the front end. Okay? This right here, is enough for our server to be up and running. Let's make sure that it doesn't break. So back over to the terminal, we'll do nodemon and go to server.js. We just don't want any errors. we can do one better, I guess, up at the top. Let's put in here console.log rec.url, just so that if someone shows up here, we will see that they came to /session. In my case, it'll be localhost 8003/session. Again, we just don't want any errors here, and I'm using nodemon. Whatever you use is fine. Okay. Back to the front end inside of our run function. I'm going to comment that out because we don't need that anymore. I'm going to use Axios on the front end. We'll use this occasionally, and sometimes, not always. You'll need more if you then fetch comes with. If you want to use fetch, use fetch. I don't care, but I'm going to npm install Axios, get it in there, and over here we will import Axios from Axios. So this is going to be really simple. Const will do resp for response, await axios.post, go out to http://localhost:8003/session. That is what we just made right here. And let's log console.log resp.data. We are going to expect that to be our ephemeral key. Okay? If we come back over to the browser, Vite should already have refreshed, and you can see right here, we've got a client secret. This is going to expire at this date. Looks like later today. These are all of the options that we have on the front end to interact with the OpenAI platform. It's using this model, which we already saw. These are the standard instructions. We didn't put those in, but I think they are standard. We'll talk about all of this stuff a little bit later on, but we have successfully generated an ephemeral key, and we are ready to create our WebRTC connection. Again, it'll be an RTC peer connection that we will send directly to OpenAI. Great job. We'll see you in the next video.